We eat every day 3 meals, sometimes even more. But there is a truth that few people truly realize. The act of putting a piece of food into your mouth is not just about satisfying hunger. It is the beginning of a chain reaction, where even a small mistake can push the entire internal system of your body into overload, even collapse. No one tells you that each year, the human body has to process an enormous amount of food. No one warns you that behind those seemingly harmless meals lies a continuous survival test for your digestive system. And even fewer people understand that everything does not begin in the stomach, but in a much simpler place, the mouth. This is not just a body part. It is the first gateway, the opening line of defense, the place that determines whether your body will be nourished or slowly worn down without you even realizing it. What is remarkable is that right here, a support system is activated before you even swallow. A substance that seems insignificant, even overlooked, is actually the biological weapon that initiates the entire digestive process. In 1 year, your body produces enough of it to fill 2 medium-sized bathtubs, a number that surprises many people. But the real question is, what happens if that system malfunctions from the very first seconds? And could it be that the thing you do every single day is silently pushing your body toward a dangerous limit without you ever noticing? This is only the beginning. Everything does not begin in the stomach, as many people still believe. It begins at the very moment you put food into your mouth, an action that seems automatic, repeated every day, yet it is the true starting point of the entire survival process inside your body. The mouth is not simply a place that receives food. It is the first checkpoint where everything is evaluated, processed, and prepared for a far more demanding journey ahead. Here, your body must make instant decisions. Can this food be processed? Is its size safe enough to be sent further down? And if an error occurs at this very first step, the entire system behind it will have to bear the consequences. No one tells you that chewing poorly, eating too fast, or swallowing in a rush is actually pushing your stomach into a dangerous situation, because at that moment, large, unprocessed chunks of food will rush down like a chaotic wave, and the stomach, instead of working steadily, is forced to increase its workload, produce more acid, and operate under prolonged overload. But what is even more important lies in a detail that most of us completely overlook. The very moment you begin to chew, a system is activated. No command, no conscious thought. The body reacts automatically. The salivary glands begin to work. A liquid that seems simple, even unpleasant to mention for some people, is actually the key factor that determines this initial stage. Just imagine, each year, the human body produces enough saliva to fill 2 medium-sized bathtubs, a number that is not only surprising, but also raises an important question. Why does the body need such a large amount of something we almost never pay attention to? The answer lies in its true function. Saliva does not simply moisten food. It begins the breakdown process right in the mouth. It mixes, softens, and breaks down the original structure of food before it moves deeper into the body. In other words, it is a preliminary processing step that is vital for survival. And if this step is skipped, if this process does not occur properly, then the entire journey that follows becomes far more dangerous. There is a truth that very few people have ever seriously considered. The liquid that we unconsciously swallow every day is actually the biological weapon that initiates the entire digestive process. And if it is lacking, or if it malfunctions, your body's internal system can fall into chaos from the very first seconds. We are talking about saliva, something that seems ordinary, even unpleasant for many people to mention. But look at this number. Each year, the human body produces enough saliva to fill 2 medium-sized bathtubs. This is not a random occurrence. The body does not invest such a large amount of resources into something meaningless. On the contrary, It shows just how critical its role truly is. Strangely, most people underestimate saliva. They think chewing is simply about breaking food into smaller pieces. But in reality, right inside the mouth, a breakdown process is already taking place. Saliva contains enzymes, biological agents capable of breaking down the original structure of food. Starch begins to be digested. The texture of food changes. Everything is pre-processed before entering a much harsher environment deeper in the body. Now consider this scenario. If you eat too quickly, chew carelessly, or almost swallow food whole, what happens? In that case, saliva does not have enough time to perform its function. Unprocessed food moves straight down into the stomach as intact chunks, and immediately, the pressure is transferred to an organ that is already working non-stop. Digestion is supposed to begin in the mouth, but when you skip this step, you force the stomach to take over the role of saliva. That means increased acid production, longer digestion time, and over the long term, problems that you may not notice right away. This is the point many people fail to recognize. The stomach does not become weak randomly. The body does not suddenly develop issues. Everything begins with very small mistakes, repeated every single day, in the place you least expect. And when those small mistakes accumulate long enough, the system will begin to react. If we look from the outside, eating seems like a simple sequence of actions. You put food into your mouth, chew, then swallow. But inside the body, it is a process calculated with precise detail, and right in the oral cavity, a series of silent yet extremely important reactions has already begun. The first is the grinding process. Teeth are not just for biting. They are the first mechanical tool of the digestive system. Each chew breaks down the structure of food. Large pieces are gradually reduced into smaller ones. The surface area increases, and that creates the conditions for biological reactions to occur faster and more efficiently. Next comes the mixing process. Saliva does not remain still. It seeps into every fragment of food, coating, softening, and binding them together into a mass that is easier to swallow. This is not random. It is a deliberate preparatory step that allows food to move smoothly downward without causing damage. But the most critical stage lies at the end, breakdown. Right in the mouth, enzymes in saliva have already begun to break down the chemical structure of food. Starch no longer remains in its original form. It starts being cut into simpler molecules. This is the true starting point of the entire digestive process, even before the stomach becomes involved. Pay attention to one detail. All of this happens in silence. No pain, no warning signals. That is why people easily ignore it. They chew quickly, swallow hastily, eat in a distracted state, and in doing so, they unintentionally disrupt the perfectly coordinated system that the body has designed. Ideally, every piece of food should be carefully processed at this stage. The digestive system should be gently activated before entering a much harsher phase. But reality is the opposite. Many people turn meals into a race, and that very habit is silently pushing the entire system into prolonged stress. Once the steps of grinding, mixing, and breakdown do not occur properly, everything that follows will no longer function as originally designed. And the next stage we are about to face is a place where there is no room for error. If the mouth is the first checkpoint, then the stomach is where every mistake begins to pay its price. There is no more gentleness like in the previous stage, no more preparatory steps. Here, food enters a completely different environment, harsher, more intense, and with no room for error. The stomach is not just a storage bag as many people believe. It is truly a biological reactor. Inside, it is powerful acid, strong enough to break down most organic structures you consume. The environment here is highly acidic, to the point that without a special protective lining, the stomach itself could be eroded by its own system. What is important to understand is that the stomach is not designed to handle everything from the beginning. It works most efficiently when food has already been properly prepared. That means it has been thoroughly broken down, well mixed with saliva, and has already begun the initial stages of digestion. In that case, the stomach simply continues the process without taking on extra pressure. But reality is often the opposite. When people eat too quickly, chew carelessly, or swallow food whole, the stomach is forced to receive large, rough, unprocessed chunks, and immediately, the system must react. More acid is released, stronger contractions occur, digestion takes longer. This is the moment when the reactor begins to overload. Imagine a production line. If the input materials are not up to standard, the entire system behind it must work twice, even 3 times as hard to compensate. Your stomach is no different. It has no choice. It must process everything, regardless of whether you have prepared it properly or not. But the problem does not stop at a single meal. When this situation repeats day after day, the stomach is gradually pushed toward its limits. Excess acid builds up, the lining becomes continuously irritated, and the first signs of imbalance begin to appear, even if you do not notice them right away. The stomach was meant to continue a smooth process, but when the preparation stage is broken, it becomes the front line bearing all the pressure. And when this reactor can no longer function steadily, the entire system that follows will begin to be affected. At this point, we have gone through each individual part, from the mouth to the stomach, and then to the small intestine. But the most important thing does not lie in each separate organ. It lies in how the entire system works together as a survival chain, precisely coordinated down to every detail. These are not independent organs. This is a tightly connected system. Each step depends on the one before it. Every deviation, no matter how small, can create a chain reaction that spreads throughout. And once imbalance begins, it does not stop at a single point. Let's look back from the beginning. If you do not chew properly, saliva does not have enough time to function. Food enters the stomach in an unprocessed state. The stomach is forced to increase its workload, produce more acid, and work longer. As a result, the mixture passed down to the small intestine is no longer in optimal condition, and the small intestine, instead of absorbing efficiently, must struggle with substandard input. This is the chain reaction that few people ever notice. A small error at the starting point can lead to a decline in the efficiency of the entire system. Not immediately, not loudly, not obviously, but silently, continuously, and accumulating over time. That is why many people eat normally, yet constantly feel tired, low on energy, and slow to recover. What is critical to understand is that the digestive system has no pause mechanism to fix errors. It is forced to keep running regardless of whether the input conditions are appropriate or not. And because of that, pressure keeps building, little by little, with every single meal. Imagine an industrial machine. If one part begins to malfunction, the other parts must compensate. At first, the system still runs, but efficiency drops, heat increases, wear and tear appear, and at a certain point, the entire system can no longer maintain stability. The human body is no different. And when this system begins to crack, the first signs will not appear where you expect them. There is a truth that most of us have never seriously confronted. The act of eating every day something we consider normal, even obvious, can actually become a double-edged sword against our own bodies. We eat when we are hungry. We eat out of habit. We eat based on emotions. But very few people stop to ask a simple question: what is really happening inside after each meal? Is the body being nourished, or is it slowly being worn down without us even realizing it? The truth is, the digestive system does not care why you eat. It only knows how to receive and process. But if the input is constantly flawed, if eating happens in a rushed, uncontrolled, and uninformed way, then the entire system will be pushed into a distorted state of operation. You may still eat 3 meals a day. You may even eat a lot. But if food is not properly processed from the beginning, If the digestive system is under prolonged overload, then most of the nutrients will not be absorbed effectively, and that leads to a dangerous paradox. The body is full of food, yet lacking energy. This is no longer just a problem of the stomach or the small intestine. This is a problem of the entire body. When nutrients are not properly delivered, cells cannot recover. The immune system weakens, energy declines, and over time, seemingly minor signs begin to appear. Persistent fatigue, difficulty concentrating, a sluggish body even without heavy work. These signals do not appear randomly. They are the result of a misaligned process that has been happening in silence, repeated day after day. What is concerning is that by the time these signs become clear, the internal system may have already been under pressure for a very long time. And at that point, recovery is no longer as simple as before. Each meal is supposed to be a moment of replenishment, a moment to nourish the body. But without understanding how the digestive system truly works, this simple act can quietly become the very thing that pulls you down. And when awareness begins to change, that is the moment you stand at a turning point. At this point, we are forced to face an important question. Do you truly control your body, or are you simply letting everything run on habit without understanding what is happening inside? For a long time, people have eaten by instinct. Hungry, then eat. Like it, then eat. Quick, convenient, without thinking. But that very approach has caused many to lose control over one of the most important systems in the body. Because the truth is, the digestive system is not just a biological process. It is the foundation of overall health. When it functions properly, the body runs smoothly. Energy is stable. The mind is clear. The ability to recover is maintained. But when it goes off track, everything begins to decline, little by little. What is important is that most of these deviations do not come from complex causes. They come from very small actions, repeated every day: chewing too quickly, eating too fast, lack of focus, ignoring the signals the body is trying to send. And over time, those small mistakes accumulate into a much larger problem. This is the point many people fail to recognize. The body does not suddenly become weak. Health does not randomly decline. Everything is the result of a long chain of actions, where each small choice contributes to shaping the current condition. But right here, an opportunity appears. Because unlike many other systems, the digestive system is something you can directly influence every single day. Simply by changing how you eat, how you chew, how you engage with your meals, you begin to intervene in the entire internal process of your body. This is not a distant theory. This is real control. The ability to actively adjust how your body operates instead of being carried along by unconscious habits. And when awareness changes, behavior changes. When behavior changes, the system begins to adjust. And that is the turning point. Not loud, not sudden, but enough to create a lasting difference. The question is, will you continue as before or start changing from the smallest things? The journey we have just gone through is not simply an exploration of the human body. It is a wake-up call, a direct look at a truth that we have long overlooked. Every day, you eat, an action so familiar that it requires no thought. But behind that action is an entire survival system operating non-stop, from the mouth, where everything begins, to the stomach, where intense pressure is endured, and to the small intestine, where the final value of everything you consume is determined. No step is unnecessary. No detail is meaningless. Yet the reality is, humans themselves are disrupting that perfection through seemingly small habits: eating too quickly, chewing carelessly, lacking focus, and repeating this day after day. A small mistake may not cause immediate consequences, but over time, it accumulates into a problem that cannot be ignored. No one can eat for you. No one can digest for you. And no one can bear the consequences for you. Your body does not speak up immediately. It endures. It adapts. It tries to maintain stability in silence. But at a certain point, when the limit is exceeded, signals will appear. And when that happens, things are no longer as simple as before. This is what many people realize too late. But the good news is, you still have control. Starting today, starting with your next meal, just by changing the way you eat, slowing down, chewing more thoroughly, being more focused, understanding what is happening inside your body, you have already begun to change an entire system. Nothing complicated is required, only the right awareness.